Hey everyone, welcome back to an episode of the Diagnosed Brave podcast. I'm your host, Bethany, and today my intention was to talk a little bit about pre and post op with my latest surgery. On my last count, I've gone through more than 15 surgeries, and in recent years, I've considered capturing them in the process, like during real time, but never followed through. So I promised myself the next one I would try to. And 6 weeks ago, I got the green light from both my insurance company and my team of doctors that I can move forward with a surgery that I've waited about a year for. So I started working on my pre op video, but I had to cram a lot into a short amount of time since I was going to be recovering for about 10 weeks, a lot of things to get in order. And then my plans switched to start recording with all the downtime after surgery. But I quickly realized that the surgeon's warning of pain levels was not just a speech. The only thing I really could focus on was when to take my next medication and trying to sleep comfortably, AKA recovery. So now, with 2 weeks under my belt, I feel better enough to share thoughts and comments with you guys. So, pre op appointments are the best chance to make sure you clarify any questions you have with the doctor, since it's usually the last time you are going to see them before being wheeled into the OR. There are no stupid questions here. The doctor makes the time, you make the time. I'm sure they've heard it all, even the ones coming out of school. I mean, there's nothing you're going to ask that they're going to say, oh, that's stupid, or why did you do that? It's open. So keep that communication flowing. Even recording the visit with your phone can be useful because you can replay it later to hear things you might have missed because you're going to be getting a lot of information. And I myself can sometimes get overwhelmed by that. And so it's good to have it to be able to reference. And then also, sometimes there's parts of it that I want the people who are going to be taking care of me afterwards to hear so that, they know what's kind of all going to be involved in this. Typically, I find looking medical things up online not the best idea, mainly because of the information overload that it provides. But the main exception that I have is an upcoming surgery. It really helps you come up with questions and concerns to bring up to your doctor, along with medical supplies or, just items in general that could help you for a smoother transition after surgery. So bringing everything up with the doctor helps you feel a lot more confident going into the surgery. During the pre op visits, I usually receive a folder from the hospital that has a variety of instructions or important numbers in it. If you don't get one, I highly suggest getting one because keeping all your paperwork together in one place that, even the people that are taking care of you know where to go to reference it. Also, you're going to probably need some place to keep your medication, like checklist, I like to call it. So having everything in the folder, having a spot designated makes it just much smoother afterwards. No one actually enjoys the game of guessing how many Vicodins somebody took in the last 2 hours because people didn't check things off and people can't remember. And you get the idea with the top timeline with everything. Some things that you don't expect, like to have happen during the pre-op, is the doctor's not going to tell you the time of the surgery or the general instructions of like night before things. So the nurses will call you closer to the date of surgery and go over the timeline of like when to stop eating, when to stop drinking. Are there certain medications you can take the day of or the day before or have to hold out, for? And then as far as like what time your procedure can be, it's a super fun question. I mean, there have been times where it's 4:30 and I'm calling and I feel bad about calling, but it's 4:30 and I'm like, are they going to close soon? And am I going to get my time? Am I still slated to have surgery? So generally speaking, you're going to find out sometime after 2 p.m. It's really just whenever they get the schedule for all the surgeries that are happening in the hospital, which is why obviously it's last minute, but it can be a little nail biting during it. Also, try to get your doctor to send any post-surgery medication to the pharmacy ahead of time. Because the number of times I've had to call surgeons' cell phones and have them paged because when I've been discharged from the hospital, there was confusion over which doctor was going to prescribe which medication. And you don't want to have to be waiting after surgery for someone to track down the doctor and get the script sent somewhere and then send somebody who's taking care of you to try to find the closest 24-hour pharmacy that has your medication in stock. No bueno, no bueno. Nobody wants to do that. Overall, I feel like I could do multiple videos on information regarding the day of surgery, but with trying to just mention a few things during this video, since I'm not sure how much information people like hearing about, and I'm still new at this. So these are the highlights I came up with, and I hope somebody appreciates it. So my number one suggestion is to say your see you later, good luck to those going with you to the hospital before you get in the car to leave. Because once you pull up into the hospital, things tend to move fast. And I have experienced it being a much easier flow. And then, two, on the car ride over, I can focus on just deep breathing and calming myself. And it almost releases some anxiety just to give that person, like in my case, like, give them a hug or, just say like, all right, I'll see you there later and everything like that. I do find the same exact smoother process when it comes to dropping people off at the airport. I live near an airport, so it has been my duty since I was able to drive to pick and drop off various family members and friends from the airport, which I don't mind. But those people that regulate the airport, they do mind when you wait, right? So anyway, it's just kind of easier, smoother. I also don't like getting all emotional in public. That could be part of it. The best way to describe how I handle myself the day of surgery is just practicing that patience, the deep breathing, slow breathing. The biggest thing I've learned to make everyone's life easier is to be extra kind to all the hospital staff. In general, what they have to deal with, I've witnessed with all my extensive hours spent at the variety of facilities across Illinois and Ohio, it does from time to time make me apologize for my fellow human beings. When I hear, like somebody yelling at someone who has no control over the situation, like the cleaning person that came in to check something or the random nurse who's, just following the doctor's instructions, they let them have it. And it has me standing up for the workers because when I see someone act a fool in public, I can't help myself. That's part of my personality. So there's a lot of stress at medical facilities in general. So watching other patients take it out on like the front desk just always has me addressing the ridiculous notion of what's happening in front of me. Plus, it feels really good to then have the staff member like afterwards come by and say, thank you for saying something, so I hope by acting calm and patient, like within myself, it just kind of helps spread to other people, kind of with the theme so far on keeping things moving smoothly. Just so much to the fact, I am a big believer of paying things forward. Like once in a while, I'll bring in like treats for the staff to show my appreciation on how they take care of me. So like for this surgery, I brought a few bags of candy I found on sale at Jewel for different like departments that I knew I was going to be interacting with during the day because I knew I was going to be admitted for at least one day. So spreading some chocolate happiness to nurses and hospital staff, it really can only result in positive things for you. You're not like bribing them. You're just kind of saying, hey, thanks for taking such good care of me. And then you smile when you have to hit that nurse's call button, right? No. So that's my PSA for the day on the public dealing with the hospital staff. Okay. So back to the day of surgery. From when you check in until they turn the music on in the OR, it is a hurry up and wait environment. So the process itself adds stress when the stress is already heightened. So you move to one area to another, all while you just keep on repeating your name, your date of birth, and what are you having done? Which when I hear newbies respond, saying, hey, somebody just asked me that. Why do you keep asking me that? I laugh because I remember saying that until I realized I also want to make sure I'm having the correct procedure done. So, with my left arm, like they wrote like big things, left and put like an X on the spot. And I was like, yes, let's make sure. Like, do we need extra colors? Like, whatever you need to do, like, let's make sure I have the right surgery. They're doing so much. I mean, the amount of procedures that go on in a hospital was just astounding. So I enjoy bringing humor to other people. So I just come up with fun ways of reciting the information and, have at it. When they're ready to bring you into the OR, the bed ride to your destination can feel very surreal the first few times. I mean, first of all, the ride itself isn't always smooth, depending on what's going on in the hospital. If there's like construction, if there's a bunch of other people trying to get around in the gurneys. I mean, like, depending on your transporter, like, it can be a very bumpy ride. All the while, your mind is spinning with thoughts. It's completely natural, and you're trying to, like, calm yourself down, like, okay, we got this, and just speaking positive affirmations. And then it's like, bang into the wall, or you get into the elevator and like bam against it, and you're just like, all right, deep breaths, just keep on reiterating that. I remember the first few times, in fact, after being shifted onto the operating table, you feel the cold temperature, the bright lights. I mean, it's crazy. It's blinding. And I just would look towards the anesthesiologist and, let them know I'm very aware of my surroundings right now, just in case, because I know you started that IV and you told me, back in the previous bay I was waiting at, that you were going to start something to help me, calm down. I appreciate that, but I am completely aware of what's happening right now. They always promise, I'll be out for it. Don't worry. Once the music cues up, you start with 100, you start taking some deep breaths, counting back. By 96, 95, you're off to dreamland. It's all good. But it is jarring the first few times. I'm always then awakened at some point in the recovery bay thinking, wait, where am I? Oh, yeah, I had surgery. That's right. And a nurse usually isn't far away to welcome me back to the awakened state. Usually when you stay in the recovery area, probably for an hour or two, depending on the procedure, just to maintain that your vitals are doing well. And since I was staying the night, once a bed opened up in the hospital, then they would move me to my next step. After a few hours, they were shifting me from my recovery room bed to my hospital bed, which in this case, due to the type of surgery that I had, it was extremely painful. But as I glanced around the hospital room, I noticed I was in a single. And that felt like a win, because each hospital is different with how they divide up, whether you're in a double or a single room. I have tried to see the logic of where it lies, and I'm not even going to pretend to know how they split it up. So it's usually not a question anybody can really provide an answer to. So that was pretty cool. And then I got introduced to the nurse that was on the shift, and she filled out the little whiteboard that they put in your room to kind of let you know any important like phone extension numbers, and then who are the people on staff that you can call and turn to. And shortly after the nurse returned with some water and pillows, I was really praising God, because someone from kitchen staff came to my room to get my dinner order. So having your choice of meals is not something that every hospital offers. Like, no, they don't. And sometimes you get like a menu that you get to like pick a variety of complementary things together. And sometimes you get a couple choices, and sometimes it's just whatever gets dropped off at the door, and you just sometimes don't even know what it is. Which, that's what's great, is most of the time when you're staying at the hospital, the nurses will have like the Jello with the juices, and sometimes they'll have like chips, and sometimes even like sandwiches they keep for people as alternatives in case like you don't like the food that the kitchen brings up. Because truly, if you can't identify what's on the plate, I will stick to the pudding, apple juice, and chips until the next meal is served. Okay, that's how I feel. But having the choice of it, man, that was the cherry on top of my surgery to making it through everything else that, transpired during the day. And I say that just because this surgery was about 5.5 hours, definitely my longest surgery that I've experienced. So there were quite a few thoughts going through the head. So having the single room and then having, my choice of meals, that was pretty cool. I definitely um, appreciated it. And it's funny because even though people are around the clock checking your vitals on you, I mean, while you sleep, because you don't get really any time to sleep. You're just dozing in and out in between people, right? Um, it's similar to like a retreat, kind of like you're just there with your thoughts. I mean, there's cable, which helps pass the time. But with some procedures, like for this one, like I wasn't feeling well enough to hold a book, to play on my phone. I definitely was in no mood to talk to anybody on the phone. And so kind of like it's an opportunity to take time with my thoughts. I mean, heck, I didn't even have to prepare my meals, right? I mean, I felt like a little bit of a win-win, like a small paid vacation, just a little bit. Like so the last funny experience to share that I had at the hospital I was thinking about revolved around being discharged. Now, for those of you who have been discharged from the hospital, I think you would agree that the whole process is a whirlwind of craziness. So, for those who haven't had that experience, what ends up coming to a head is the delicate balance between both the progress you as a patient you're making and what your insurance dictates. Once that balance is made, AKA the insurance believes you are as good as the hospital could make you, then there is a rush for the staff to make the time to, I mean, because like when the nurses need to discharge you, like they're still waiting on the other 40 to 70 patients they have on that floor. So they have to take the time to process you out, prepare all your paperwork, flip the room, and prep it for the next patient that's waiting for a bed, like I was 3 days prior. So on my third day, I heard mention, today might be the day. But after lunch came and went, I thought, well, okay, maybe tomorrow. Who knows? Then mid afternoon, the hospital doctor came by and said that I had made enough progress and he was going to release me. As he exited the room, a nurse hurried in and explained she'd be right in to take the IV out. She just needed to get a last set of vitals. And I told her, no rush. I need to call my ride and see when they could get there. I called my ride and they said about 30 minutes. So after the IV was out, she mentioned grabbing, the discharge paperwork and could she help me locate my change of clothes for the car ride? I'd brought an overnight bag. And I appreciated her helping me get things out of the bag. But when one of the cleaning crew came in to start working on the room, that's when I felt it was a good, time to kind of remind them how I needed some more time to gather myself, which she said she understood. She just, needed to start cleaning. And so after I was dressed, they called for transport. That's when I politely mentioned that I was not going to be getting in the wheelchair, just so everybody knew, until I knew my dad's car was downstairs and they were here at the hospital to come get me. Because the last thing that I want, I've had this happen, is, they discharge you, they put you downstairs, you're waiting in the hospital lobby, everybody's walking in and out of the hospital. You've just had surgery. You're in a completely uncomfortable outfit. In my case, like, it had been a couple days since I showered. And then I'm just sitting like a welcome greeter at Walmart, like, hey, everybody, waiting for my ride, which depending on the traffic in Chicago and also depending on the day and who's picking you up, like you could be there a couple minutes, right? So I was like, luckily my parents walked in as I was finishing that statement. And so it was okay. Overall, I mean, the hospital experience was as good of a stay as one could have given the situation. I was happy to be discharged so I could be back in my own space and not have someone walking in, to get more blood work at all hours of the day. But I did feel a little anxious that when I got home, I won't have access to that nurse call button next to my bed. And I think it's natural to feel nervous after surgery. I mean, not only has your body experienced some trauma, but it's always an emotional situation. So really give yourself some grace after your surgery. I mean, I have had a surgeon paged at 2 a.m. because I woke up and my wrist did not look okay. And I wanted to check, and I did not want to go to the local ER and wait there because guess what? They're going to call the surgeon anyway. When you're a patient under doctor's care, even your GP, like in some cases, my rheumatologist, and I've been in the ER, like they call those doctors because they need from the doctor's like lips of what's going on. They've gathered your information. Maybe you're at the same hospital that has access to like a my chart or something, but at the end of the day, the hospital staff is still going to call your doctor. So whether you call them or not, I'm not talking about abusing that right of calling them, but I'm just saying out of all of my surgeries, I did call that person at 2 a.m. because I was concerned about what was going on. So there's no shame in making sure that your healing process is going well, especially since, I mean, let's be honest, we are inundated with negative stories. So just double checking with the doctor, it's a great idea. And in today's world, it is super easy. I mean, the number of times I've taken a picture of something swelling or discharge or something that concerns me, and I can email it or even text it directly to staff members. So I don't even have to worry about like making an appointment to come in and do they have time. It's like, I'm not sure about that. And I just want to double check. There's a lot of options out there. So, another surprise I found out early was depending on the surgery that you have, there can be different garments or equipment like medical supplies that the doctors want you using. And it's hard because some of the stuff they send you home with. Like they've sent me home with like a brace or they've sent me home with like a special wash I was supposed to use. And then other times they're expecting you to go get it on your own, which can be frustrating. I mean, you're prepping for surgery and now you're out trying to find these medical supplies. And depending on where you're living, yeah, there's stuff on Amazon, but like a lot of the stuff you want to like try on and have for sure and not just guess and hope that it's going to work out. I mean, if you can plan, right? So last month, I'm picking up my post, surgery medications. After the pharmacist told me the copay, I'm like, oh, you got my insurance on file. I mean, is that the true total? So I ended up having to take a few breaths, at the pharmacy counter, in, out, right? And I reminded myself that, all right, a blood clot is going to end up costing me more. So, all right, we can put that on the charge card. I mean, even like the nurses let me know that like I needed compression socks to wear around the clock short term. I have immediate, like amazing respect for people who have to wear compression socks long term. I can't even. Like, I mean, as an added note, when you buy compression socks, okay, measure and get the size up. Because I learned last week I was causing a lot more problems in my legs because the socks weren't the right size, even though I had other people verify what it showed on the box and how we measured the tape around my, it's just one of those things, right? I mean, I even, the day before surgery, I was hanging out with a friend who went to a resale shop and I had the idea that, okay, you're having surgery around your abdomen. You're not going to want something like shorts, anything kind of binding around it. And there was the rack of dresses and I was able to find a couple dresses there because I was like, wait a second, I'm not going to want that. So sometimes you have to really think through like, okay, what did the doctor say my recovery is going to look like? How long is there going to be special things that I need? It just, just even like the idea of getting like a raised toilet seat. I got that from watching a lady on YouTube talk about her story and her recovery. And I was like, I would never think of that. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? I watched a couple other videos and then I'm like, that's right. I'm not allowed to use my stomach muscles for like 4 to 6 weeks. And then I start watching, video after video where these women are being, pulled off the toilet by, their friends, roommates, husbands, whatever. And I'm kind of like looking at my parents and I'm like, okay, for this, let's see what Amazon has today. And luckily I did find something that helped me keep a little dignity with my recovery when it came to that. I mean, but yeah, I'm really glad that my body is healing up. There is obviously still discomfort. I'm a little bit more mobile, which probably causes more discomfort. It's kind of, again, more of that balance of, as the pain eases up, you kind of feel like, oh, I could do a little bit more. I could maybe get involved in, going up the stairs or picking this up. And then you have to remember, like, okay, wait, I can't lift anything over 10 pounds. Oh, wait, I got to do, but you're feeling better. So you want to start doing things. So it's really hard to gauge, like, depending on what kind of surgery and depending on your body, how the whole recovery process is going to feel. So after it's been about 2 weeks, I'm getting better, I'm feeling better, but then I got to remind myself I still have certain limitations. And that can be a hard balance to remember, especially if you haven't had surgery before. I have had more energy to reach out to family and friends and kind of catch up. So I can tell that my mood is getting better, which is a direct result of the pain levels lowering and getting more sleep. I mean, I can be a crab when I don't get sleep. And when you have to lay in a position that you don't sleep, I'm a side sleeper and I have to lay on my back with like certain degree angles and everything. I can't even use the word sleeping because it doesn't apply. Like it's laying there. That's what I'm doing. And then when my eyes close, maybe I get some sleep. So I plan on doing a video to kind of break down more details of the surgery. And in the future, I want to add some about my previous surgeries and help, like, in hopes that it helps somebody else. I just started looking back into doing Medical Monday facts. So I plan on starting those up next week. So as always, I appreciate the comments. And if there's a medical topic you want me to speak on sooner than later, feel free to let me know. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.